Thank you so much, Kajal. Good morning, everyone. So pleased to be part of this panel with such strong and diverse women here with such diversity of thought. My name is Aruna Kumaraswamy. I'm a partner with SR Battery Boy, a Big Four audit firm, and I have been in this field for the last 20 years. Um, Kajal, I think in response to your question and considering the kind of thoughts that we've been hearing around the table, I think we all need to find a reason why we should not have more women, in the corporate world in India and around.
Yeah.
I think we should move to a fact where we should start finding reasons to not have women. I think that's where we need to progress. As all our colleagues have said, I think fundamentally women are nurtured to have be more problem solving. I think it comes with us as part of our inherent nature. We are more adaptive to situations, and we're also very innovative to find out reasons and find out different ways of doing things. I think in today's world, especially the post-pandemic era, we've seen that companies who are more agile and adaptive are the ones who've done well and seen through this pandemic much better than the rest of them. And unless you have women and diverse thoughts and diverse workforce, you're going to lose out on these problem solving collaborations and innovative thoughts that women can bring on table. And therefore, with all of these aspects which are inherent to women, I think it has to be a no-brainer that there have to be more women in the corporate world. We've already lost a lot of time, and I think it's high time that we all start focusing on a reason why we shouldn't have them in the day.
The question that I'll come around the table with now is what was the biggest roadblock that you faced in your career?
I think it's been, honestly, it's been so relieving to hear what other panelists have been saying, and it's so supportive because you know that what you've been through, I think several of us have gone through, and I think that's the beauty of networking and being in a network of women who are rising, because then it's some kind of sisterhood that gets developed, and we know that we are not alone sailing in that ship. So for me personally, I think while there have been several ups and drops, there I think the most significant one was when I got married and relocated, and at that point of time, I was also in a very crucial stage in my career. And you know that with relocation at a very senior level in an organization, you tend to recreate a lot of work that you've done in the past, and to establish yourself again, and to do that with a new family, with new expectations, with a whole set of expectations that you have for yourself, to kind of mingle with the family, new teams, new jobs. I think that was the time when it was very stressful, and I think what really played out was not the external organization, as so many other people were saying, not the external factors, but really what played in my mind. I was trying to prove myself at every point in time. I didn't want to lose out on something that I've done so long. If I today to sit back and introspect that phase of my life, I think maybe I just overwhelmed myself with so many responsibilities and trying to do so much within a very short span of time. Um, I think so. Therefore, I would just want to say that, uh, as a few of us were saying, that it's okay to have. Our career is a long journey. It's not a one. It's not a sprint, right? It's a long journey. It's like a marathon, and it's okay to have those regular blocks. It's okay to kind of rest for a while. It's okay to sip some water. It's okay to chat with your colleague. So it's okay to do all of this while you're running the marathon, right? Because what's important is that at the end of the day, you need to be happy with what the journey that you're doing, and it's just not about those few raises and few promotions that you're really looking at in the long run. So take those breaks, be happy with what you're doing, and at some point in time, get up and restart. And as exactly what I can see here, start, restart, rise. I think that's very important, because you need to know when to start. You need to know when to take that break, when to restart, and when to press the accelerator and say that, no, I want to do well because today my personal life, I can manage it. So I think this ability to manage entirely, I think that's something that my own personal experience has taught. But I think that's today, if I sit back, I think that is what I would advise to people.
The second question at the table would be what program or policy or initiative at your company has contributed significantly to increasing a woman's rise up the ladder? And the third question is what change do you feel is necessary for women and companies to make in order to increase women at leadership levels, especially in a post-COVID world, right? We are living in a world that has, I don't know, been turned upon its head. So there's no way we can leave that out of the conversation. I'd really appreciate it if you'd include that in your answer as well.
I think from an organization perspective, to answer your first question, of course, we as an organization are very diverse and inclusive, and there are various measures. But one of the key aspects which I personally feel has helped several women in our organization is the fact that, I mean, we all know the trend that we have a lot of women at the middle management level, but once they start moving to senior leadership, we start losing several of them because that's the time maybe more or less it coincides with your personal priorities as well, right? So here we have, so apart from the monitoring the matrices and monitoring and having specific programs for women, getting women speakers as role models, etc. I think we also have a very specific focused mentoring program wherein women with high potential for senior leadership are identified in their middle level when they are in the middle level management, and senior leaders are appointed to as mentors, and they're different from the counselors, they're different from people whom they normally work with, so that they get to navigate the entire corporate journey and to climb the ladders, and at the same time tell them, make sure that they're sponsoring them for the right projects, right opportunities, telling them where they're going wrong, and show them the mirror so that they know which way they're headed. So I think that's one program which has personally helped me as well as a lot of other women in the organization. And I think mentorship, the importance of mentorship can never be undermined. I think, and that's played a key role. Moving on to the post-COVID scenario where we are today, I personally always believe that in India, especially when compared to the rest of the world, our entire work-life balance and what we believe flexibility is, and how we assume people to be available 24/7, I think that culture or mindset needs to undergo a change, right? When you see, when you interact with your global counterparts, setting up a call on a Saturday is completely unheard of unless it's a very, very, very critical project. But in India, it's still acceptable, right? It still happens. So I think now it's important. It's the time, and as you rightly said, I think COVID has been a great gender equalizer. Now that several of us are going to go into a hybrid model of working partly from home and partly from office, I think this entire work culture in India needs to be changed, and organizations need to specifically focus not just for one section of the workforce, which is women, but for the entire workforce. Because I mean, every time you start singling out a set of people, you're still going to call them different, right? It's never going to become inclusive. So that work culture, which enables everybody to operate equally, without having to think, oh, I'm missing out on a meeting which is happening at 8:30 at night, right? You don't have to have that guilty feeling. So I think the organizations need to now start building a culture which operates seamlessly for everybody. And the same flexibility applies to everybody else. And that helps people back home, because if you have your husband also being available to do some amount of work, or anybody else being available to do some amount of work, that eases out the pressure on you, right? So you are not the only one expected, because you enjoy some flexibility at our workforce.
Yeah.
So I think that's very, very critical for us in the post-COVID era.
Thank you so much for that, Aruna.